Welcome to Lesson 2 of this module, Defining Language Interpreting. Before we discuss ethics, scope of practice, or professional boundaries, it's essential to clearly define what language interpreting actually is. Many misunderstandings in healthcare settings stem from confusion about this very definition. Medical interpreting is not casual bilingual conversation. It is a high-precision professional activity that requires discipline, accuracy, and respect for the limits of the role. Understanding what interpreting is and what it is not is the foundation of professional practice, and it sets the stage for everything else you'll learn. Let's dive in. Lesson 2, what is language interpreting? In this lesson, we're going to define very clearly what language interpreting is, and just as importantly, what it is not. Many misunderstandings and ethical mistakes come from confusion about this definition. Language interpreting is a high-precision professional activity, not simply casual bilingual conversation. Interpreting is the process of conveying spoken or signed communication from one language, the source language, into another, the target language, in real time. So, what are the responsibilities of a professional medical interpreter? To interpret effectively, you must consistently do 4 things. Listen carefully to the source message, understand the speaker's intent and meaning, render the message accurately in the target language, maintain tone, emotion, and level of formality. When these steps are done correctly, communication flows as if both people share the same language. Always remember, interpreters are not participants in the conversation. They are linguistic conduits. Your role is to transmit, faithfully and neutrally, what each person says. Even a single misinterpreted phrase can change a diagnosis, alter a treatment plan, or compromise patient safety. This is why medical interpreting demands consistency, neutrality, and complete accuracy at all times. Now that we understand what medical interpreting is, let's take a closer look at what it is not. Now let's look at what interpreting is not. These are the areas where interpreters often slip, usually with good intentions. You must not explain medical information, summarize instead of interpreting, decide what is important, soften or correct messages, offer personal opinions or advice, advocate for decisions or outcomes. In short, interpreters do not filter messages. Interpreters do not protect people from uncomfortable truths. Interpreters do not leave anything out. If it is said, it must be interpreted. Every word, every time. Understanding these boundaries leads us to an essential distinction: the difference between meaning-based interpretation and word-for-word rendering. One of the biggest misconceptions is that interpreting means repeating words exactly as spoken. In reality, word-for-word rendering often produces confusion or inaccuracy. Languages don't align perfectly. Grammar, idioms, cultural expressions, and sentence structures vary. To interpret effectively, meaning must guide your interpretation, not literal word order. At the same time, meaning-based interpreting does not mean rewriting or fixing messages to make them sound better. You must still preserve the speaker's tone, urgency, and intent, even when it feels awkward or uncomfortable. That is why we must understand tone, intent, and register, including active listening. Not just learn it, but develop the skill. Let's learn it together. Words are only part of communication. Tone, register, and intent carry meaning too, and the interpreter is responsible for preserving all of it. Tone is how something is said. Register is level of formality, while intent is purpose behind the message. The role of active listening is also important. To interpret meaning accurately, you must practice active listening. Active listening means listening not just to the words, but to the emotion, the pauses, the emphasis, and the context. Let us discuss what active listening looks like for interpreters. 1. Paying full attention. 2. Not planning your response while the speaker talks. 3. Noticing emotional shifts. 4. Picking up on hesitation or urgency. 5. Observing nonverbal cues. Passive hearing is automatic. Active listening is intentional, and it is essential for accurate interpreting. Let's look at how active listening affects tone, register, and intent. Tone example. A gentle, calm explanation reassures the patient. The same explanation in a rushed tone may create anxiety. Your job? Preserve the tone. Register example. Providers might switch from technical terminology with colleagues to simpler language with patients. You must notice that shift and reflect it accurately. Intent example. Intent is the why. A patient may express fear seeking reassurance. A provider may emphasize risks seeking informed consent. You must render the intent, not your interpretation of it. Just because an interpreter is fully focused on understanding the patient's tone, intent, and register does not mean the patient or healthcare provider will focus on them. This is where the interpreter's invisibility becomes a strength. So, before we conclude this lesson, let's have a look at interpreter invisibility as a strength. Invisibility does not mean being unimportant. It means you do not insert yourself. You support communication without becoming the center of it. When interpreting is done well, the provider speaks to the patient speaks to the provider, and the interpreter becomes the bridge, not the focus. Invisibility in practice. Let's look at a quick scenario. Michael, the medical provider. Aisha, the patient. Joshua, the interpreter. Can you tell me how long the pain has been there?
Começou ontem à noite e eu não consegui dormir. Estava com muito medo.
It started last night, and I couldn't sleep. I was so scared.
Interprets fully and accurately, including the emotional tone, without adding reassurance. Joshua's professionalism as the interpreter is shown not by what he adds, but by what he does not add. He does not comfort, advise, or filter emotion. He preserves the message exactly as delivered. Languages spoken in this lesson are used for illustrative purposes only. Lesson 2 is now complete. You now have a clear, structured understanding of interpreting, what it is not, and the skills required to perform it professionally. In the next lesson, we'll build on this foundation and explore the essential terminology and concepts used throughout the interpreting industry.